Hey, this is Frank Nag, and welcome to my channel where we help entrepreneurs grow their business in the financial markets. If you like this video, click on that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe and you'll get caught up with all my videos when I post them. Today, we're going to be talking to my good friend, Mr. Kerry Anderson. He's a law partner in O'Neill Webster in the British Virgin Islands. I've been doing business with him for nearly 10 years, and I trust him implicitly, something like that. And I would say that my clients are extremely happy with him. And so I decided to put this interview together so that this way we can get a better idea what the benefits are in working in the British Virgin Islands. So without further ado, let's get right to that meeting. So Kerry Anderson from O'Neill Webster, British Virgin Islands, Tortola. Kerry, we've been doing business for a number of years now, right? I mean, my gosh, it's about at least almost 10 years already.
I think I was looking at my emails. It was going to be 10 years in January next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's so important to really develop relationships with service providers that you have a good rapport with, and also that have a common mindset that we want to make sure that we benefit the clients that invest as possible. But and you as a lawyer with O'Neill, I mean, you've been with O'Neill Webster pretty much all this time, right?
Yeah, I've been with O'Neill Webster for over 20 years. Over 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're one of the
Um,
managing partners, so
I'm a former managing partner. I
yeah.
am now I head up our funds and regulatory division. I work primarily with funds on the one hand, and then corporate commercial stuff on the other hand.
What do you like to work with typically? You like work with SPVs? Like what do you find really your enjoyment?
I find there's a lot of interesting things you come across that come across your desk from time to time, especially working in an offshore jurisdiction. One of the interesting things for me would be uh, doing some of the M&A work that we do. I've had some interesting joint venture work, both in setting it up and then later on when there's a dispute that gets interesting. Also, from on the fund side, it's always interesting to see the different techniques or and strategies and different asset classes that we have clients trying to pursue. Um, just interesting to see, especially in recent times with all this crypto and all these digital assets and virtual assets out there. It's interesting the innovations that you see coming on stream.
It's funny you mentioned the crypto assets. I know some of the jurisdictions like Cayman Islands have instituted certain regulations monitoring transactions, being a service, being an asset provider. Has the BVI adopted anything rules when it comes to somebody setting up a crypto fund, or has it been pretty much still the same? They're treating the crypto like any other asset from what you've seen?
Yeah. I mean, the when was it? Maybe a year or two ago, the BVI Financial Services Commission, which is our regulator, they did issue some guidance, and they took the view that virtual assets are property, and so could be, they could legitimately form the basis of a fund's investment strategy and so on. But excuse me, but this year they released a consultation draft of a Virtual Asset Providers Act. So we have that legislation coming on stream. It will be similar to what you see in Cayman, and it is really targeted towards primarily uh, custodians and exchanges. Funds should not be affected, and then players in the fintech industry may need, or existing players will need to register. Not so much at this stage, you're not really looking at heavy regulation, but just to know who's involved and have an idea of what they're doing. So they require them to register. But if you're a custodian or an exchange, then you would be regulated.
Well, that's good news because, as you know as well as I do, our clients typically are multi-asset. You know, sometimes they're buying index options and index futures and even some of the long equities, but they're looking sometimes to hedge their positions with some crypto. And it's good to
Mhm.
know that the BVI doesn't have any really at this stage when it comes to fund management, any kind of certain rules to govern for a specific asset class. But moving to the next topic with that, the primary funds that you and I have set up in the past were pretty much professional licensed funds and incubator funds. But more or less, I see uh, more clients are spending the extra couple dollars and becoming professional licensed because an incubator fund, it's a lighter regulated type fund, but eventually that fund is going to, if it's going to be successful, get to the full license. Um, what are the good benefits as a professional license fund and the requirements that the BVI needs, the FSC, the Financial Service Commission will require?
Yeah. So the professional fund, the main requirement, you need to have two directors. They don't need to be, neither director needs to be a resident in the BVI. Um, at least one director must be an individual. It is possible to have a corporate director, but if you have a corporate director, then the directors or the principals behind that corporate director need to be different from the other individual director, right?
Mm.
So you need to be at least two. In essence, you need to have at least two individuals on that directorship position. The other main thing about professional fund is that the is the type of investor. So this fund is only for what we call professional investors. And so effectively, we're looking at high net worth individuals with a net worth of at least US $1 million, and that can invest a minimum, they must invest a minimum of US $100,000 in the fund at the beginning. And of course, also, if you are a corporate or institutional investor, you would also qualify as a professional investor.
Mhm.
So those are the main requirements. Sorry, go ahead.
And there's no minimum AUM, right? I mean, if they got two investors with 200,000 or 300,000, the Financial Service Commission of BVI is not imposing any minimum asset under assets under management capital requirements.
Right. No minimum asset under management requirement. No caps on the number of investors you can have. And as we discussed, the BVI is investment strategy agnostic. It doesn't matter what you invest in, and it's open.
And I also understand that auditors are not even a fund administrator is required,
Mhm.
but not necessarily an auditor, which is I chuckle with that because I don't know what hedge fund would not want some type of an accounting uh, accountability, so to speak, after the end of the
Well,
year to view that. Uh,
right.
have you ever seen any hedge fund be set up in your practice that did not have an auditor, other than like an incubator fund, but like a professional fund?
No, professional funds do require an auditor because you have one of your annual requirements is to file audited financials.
Oh, that's
So,
correct.
so you
Yes.
do
Yeah.
it, yeah. So the only time you'd see a fund without an auditor is if it's in wind down mode. A professional fund could get an exemption for a custodian, depending on the assets that they're trading in. It may not be a custodian may not be necessary, or you may have a prime broker that performs that function. But yeah, generally for an auditor, generally they will need an auditor.
I think I probably got confused with the incubator fund because the incubator fund is not required, even an administrator, right? They just need somebody that's
Correct.
in valuation specialty or something.
Yeah, the incubator fund, you don't need an auditor, nor do you need one for an approved fund.
Well, why don't you talk about what an approved fund is?
An approved fund. So an approved fund, if I step back a bit, in the earlier days for the BVI, the fund products look like this: the professional fund, which is like a hedge fund, a public fund, which is like a mutual fund, the retail
Mhm.
fund, and then in the middle you have what they call a private fund, which was a fund that was sort of designed for closely connected investors. So the approved fund is sort of a step down to that uh, private fund in the sense that while the private fund didn't have the same sort of limitations, they didn't have many limitations on didn't have any limitations on AUM or on the number of investors. An approved fund does. So you're limited to an AUM of US 100 million, and you're limited to 50 investors. Also, you're not allowed to market the fund on a public basis. It can only be done privately. And for that, what you get is you need to have an administrator, but you don't need the other service providers. So you don't need an auditor. You don't need necessarily need a custodian. Strictly speaking, you probably don't really need an investment manager either. But I mean, from a practical sense, that's not going to work. So if you're a small family office, that might work. An approved fund might work for you. Or if you want to just do friends and family and keep it small, again, an approved fund might work for you. Or if you imagine in a relatively small fund that you don't want the professional investor requirement, an approved fund would also work for you because there's no requirement to have that $1 million in a net worth for all your investors.
Now that's interesting. So they're not considered, the investors would not be considered professional under the
Right.
FSC guidelines. Interesting. So do you think that will be a better option compared to an incubator fund? Because an incubator fund, there is, I think, what is the maximum assets under management for an incubator fund?
Yeah, just 20 million. 20 million.
20 million.
20 investors, and then you have a 2-year limit, right? Yeah.
But with the approved fund, there is no limit, right? And only just a cap of 100 million.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, I understand that we've set up together approved investment managers. I know that in some jurisdictions, like Cayman, they call it a registered person. They have certain guidelines and regulations for that. BVI has what you call an approved manager, which is good. Has there been any changes in legislation? And maybe you could touch base on some of the requirements to be an approved manager, managing a BVI fund or a Cayman fund or any other entity offshore.
Yeah, so the approved fund is a great product. It was developed to sort of sit between a fully licensed fund manager. So what they've done with the approved managers, say, okay, we're gonna allow you to manage funds with an AUM up to US 400 million, if it's an open-ended fund, and if it's a private equity fund, then you can manage funds up to 1 billion. You can manage BVI funds or non-BVI funds once they're similar to a typical BVI type structure. The requirements, again, you need to have your 2 directors. You need to have an auditor in place, and you need to demonstrate you have the capability to actually, you need to demonstrate you have some expertise in fund management. And that's pretty much it. It's not very difficult. The requirements are not very stringent. You can get approval in 14 days if everything is lined up properly. And you just have to do your annual filings. Just to, they will ask you to file and confirm your number of investors, if there were any complaints, if there were any issues, how much money you're managing, and so on, just to make sure you remain under the limits. But yeah, it's a great product and it's been very popular.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I prefer the British Virgin Islands, BVI, over some of the other jurisdictions because of the different flexibilities. And that's the great thing about our business is we get to really dive into what type of product or service is going to be best for the clients. And we've had our mix of clients, you and I, in past. So, lastly, there's nothing of an issue by utilizing a BVI fund structure as a master feeder structure, combining it with a U.S. Delaware corporation and combining it as a master feeder structure.
No issue at all. In fact, quite a number of our clients do it that way. They segregate the U.S. from the non-U.S. clients and investors. We've also had clients who use BVI funds with Cayman funds. or BVI manager with a Cayman fund and a BVI fund. There are a lot of different permutations because the BVI, as you said, is so flexible and permits a lot of choice for that owner of the fund or the fund manager.
Mm-hmm. So your offices you have in Tortola, and
Yep.
you have also an office in New York, which I remember when you were stationed there for some time, and in London.
Yep.
And but you're also part of a network of attorneys, right? So it's basically when a client of ours is looking to set up a BVI fund, we prepare the documents and send it over to you. They engage with you. Pretty much, then it's that by becoming your client, they're exposed to various legal services across the globe for whatever their needs are. Is that right, Kerry?
Yeah, so we are part of a large organization. It's called Lex Mundi, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it's set up is that is a tight network of law firms, independently owned and operated, of course. But we have certain facilities. So using Lex Mundi, we have access to lawyers and top firms in various jurisdictions, from Australia to India to Pakistan, to different states in the US. And one of the nice benefits we have is we have a free advice policy, time-limited free advice policy. But we often use that when clients have issues. They want a quick answer about setting up a charity in the US or what have you, and what the interplay would be. We can ask a question once and get an answer once it doesn't go beyond a certain period of time, like a half an hour, 45 minutes, what have you. And we can get some free advice that way that we could pass on to our clients. And then, sometimes is a threshold issue, and so the client doesn't need to go any further. Or sometimes it opens a path for the client to move forward. So it's very useful, very helpful, and we can coordinate with several jurisdictions at the same time, which you've had to do in the past.
And I think that's a key thing, because once a client develops a good relationship with a fund consultant and service providers and legal practitioners like yourself, I always advise my clients to stick with them. And if there are ways of introductions, or if there are any other ancillary services or other value-added services that your firm offers, it's an added bonus by working with you. Kerry, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, and we just hopefully there's not going to be any more hurricanes coming down the pipe over there. But we're not done yet. We got, I think, one more month to go. So we appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that meeting with my good friend Kerry Anderson, lawyer for O'Neill Webster out of Tortola, British Virgin Islands. Again, if you have not yet subscribed, if you're new here, click on that subscribe button, click on that like button. And if you are also interested in setting up a hedge fund, I recommend getting down to my link in the description box and buying my book, The Ultimate Hedge Fund Guide. It'll walk you through all the steps, and also go over a lot of the things that Kerry had spoke about today if you decide to set up a hedge fund in the BVI.